Hey everybody, I'm Jack Reda with Future Pastimes, and I'm one of the designers on Dune, a game of conquest and diplomacy, also known colloquially as Movie Dune. We like to refer to it as Dune Conquest, which is probably what it should have been called, but that's how we refer to it to keep things concise. And what Dune Conquest is a streamlined version of the classic Dune board game. And the original designers of that game are part of the design team for Dune Conquest. Now, Dune Conquest came about because in about 2020, when the Villeneuve movie was imminent, we talked with Gale Force 9, and they were interested in showcasing their Dune license and doing a version of Dune that featured imagery from the movie, especially because as people went to see the movie, and then saw a Dune game in the stores, they would be able to make that connection visually with all the characters and the art direction from the movie. But Future Pastimes really wasn't that interested in doing a pure reskin of the classic Dune board game. It's the same game with new art. That didn't interest us that much. It was also going to be pretty challenging because a lot of the characters that are depicted in the classic Dune board game were not going to be in that first movie or depicted at all. So like Otheum, the Fremen warrior, was not in the first movie. We don't even know if he's going to be in the second movie, part 2. Dr. Yui's wife, there was almost no chance that she was going to be depicted in that movie. Alia was also not going to be in that movie at all. So it was going to be too challenging to even attempt it. So what really interested us was to find a way to have Dune reach a more casual gaming audience or mass market audience, and streamlining Dune was an interesting challenge for us that we were keen to try out. So we looked at classic Dune and we looked at all the things that people love best about that, and we wanted to retain that, but also looking for ways to streamline the Dune experience so that it's more accessible overall. So in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about how we went about making Dune Conquest, why we think it is a great gateway to classic Dune, and a really good game on its own. So the things that we liked best about classic Dune were first and foremost the battle system. So the idea that you are dialing the number of your forces that are in a battle that you're willing to sacrifice in order to win that battle, using that number and then the number of a leader and adding them together for the highest total. And then, of course, playing a weapon or a defense in order to affect the other player's leader and potentially protect yours. It's a great game mechanism. It's been around for over 40 years now, and it's one of the things that people like best about Dune. So we said, look, we got to definitely keep that in there. But let's look at the other areas that make the game long, because one criticism that people have of classic Dune, which is well-deserved, is that it can sometimes be a bit of a long slog. You can have a Dune game that's 3 hours, 4 hours, 5, 6 hours long. And a 6-hour board gaming experience was not going to be attractive to casual gaming audience, especially like if, we've picked up Dune and we want to play a game after dinner. If you're starting a game of classic Dune after dinner, then there's something terrifically wrong with you. And, you know, I like that. I'm all for it. But again, it was just not going to work. Dune Conquest, you can get through that game in under an hour. So it actually is something that you can enjoy. You can play a game of it after dinner. You can have a game night where you play Dune and you maybe play something else as well, or a couple other games, because it's not going to soak up all of your time with one experience. So in the classic Dune board game, the two phases that typically last the longest are the bidding phase and then shipping and movement. The game is played over a series of phases, and that's true in Dune Conquest as well. Although we've streamlined it, there aren't as many phases, and some of them have always been pretty quick. So the storm phase is very quick. You're just seeing how far the storm moves, and we do it with an 8-sided die. You're just going to roll the die, and that's how it moves, how far it moves. You might roll a 0. So that's something that is exclusive to movie Dune Conquest. And we also figured, since we have a die, we're going to put a storm icon, which means that if you're the first player, you get to decide how far the storm is going to go from 0 to 6. So that's, again, it doesn't take that long. The spice phase, you're just flipping over a spice card. The two phases were bidding and shipping a movement. So instead of having players bid on a series of cards that they don't even get to look at, we just said, let's just buy the cards. You're going to spend spice, 2 spice per card. You're buying them, and then you're getting through this card phase in about a minute. It doesn't take that long to get through it. Shipping a movement is still pretty much the same, but one of the things that we wanted to do with that was to get people into the action more quickly. So in Classic Dune, because, the Classic Dune will last 10 turns, and in fact, Classic Dune was 15 turns, which I don't know what they were thinking with that, but we figured 10 turns is going to be too long. So Dune Conquest is only 5 turns long. And we wanted people to be able to get into battles, because battles are arguably one of the things that's the most fun about Dune. Get to those quickly. And so that was realized in 2 ways. One was that shipping a movement, we wanted people to be, everyone can ship for 1 spice to any territory. So in Classic Dune, it's only 1 spice per force if you're going into a stronghold. If you go anywhere else, it's 2 spice per force. And we figured, look, there's going to be 2 spice blows, because the spice cards in Dune Conquest, they all have 2 territories. So there's going to be plenty of spice for you to go and fight over. We wanted you to be able to get to that. So everybody in Dune Conquest can move 3 territories. Whereas in Classic Dune, you're typically only able to move 1 territory unless you control the cities. You're starting your shipping and movement action in Arrakeen or Carthag, and then you have 3. And we're like, let's simplify it. Everyone can move 3. And it only costs 1 spice per force if you're shipping in from off-planet. So that lets you get to the action faster. The other way that we wanted to get people to the action faster is, in Classic Dune, you start with 1 treachery card. And the treachery deck is where you have your weapons, your defenses, your special effects, and your worthless cards. You start with 1, and then you have to bid to buy more. So by the end of that first turn, most factions maybe have 2 cards. It's a while before you've got a full hand of 4 cards. You really have to cultivate your hand. If you've got a card that's not good, you're maybe getting into a battle just so that you can get rid of it to make room for something else, or it's taking you several turns to be able to fill up. In a game that's only going to last 5 turns, we wanted people to be able to get into those battles early on. So we took the treachery deck and we actually broke it into 2 decks. We have a market deck and we have a battle deck. And the players, before the battle phase, they're always going to have 4 battle cards. You just draw them. You don't have to buy them. They're free. And that's where your weapons are, your defenses. Still have a couple of worthless cards. So we've got, this Sandworm Mural is example of one of the worthless cards. And then a few cards in the battle deck with special effects. So like this is reinforcements. It's something that you play in place of a weapon or a defense. And it lets you add a surprise 3 to the total. So nobody could see that coming. But then still, normal weapons and defenses, maul, pistol, shield, etc., etc. All of the other special effects are moved over to the market deck. And these are the cards that you're buying. It's 2 spice per card. You can have up to 3 of them. They tell you when you can play them, what the effects are, and it lets us showcase scenes and screenshots from the movie, which was the whole point of doing this game. Well, one of the points anyway. And that really speeds things up. You're just getting those battle cards. You're ready to go into battle. You may be spending some of your spice on the market cards. And then you're able to go fight over the spice that's on the board or go for the strongholds. And because it's 5 turns long, actually, the game can be over very quickly. So we actually made it so that you can't even win the game on turns 1 and 2. So it's going to be at least 3 turns. But if at the end of 5 turns, nobody has 3 strongholds, then it's whoever has the most spice. So there's a deterministic win either way. And controlling a stronghold is still worth spice for that victory condition. So you've got 2 ways you can go about it. You can focus on, I'm just going to try to get as much spice as I can and then prevent other players from winning. I can go all in on a stronghold when they're going for the win, sacrifice my forces, and know that I've got the spice to win. Or you can say, look, I've got a good hand of battle cards. I'm going to go for the win on turn 3 or turn 4 and try to get those 3 strongholds. So it gives players some options. So there is a surprising amount of depth. Well, it's not that surprising for us because that's how we engineered it. But for people who are new to Dune Conquest, or those who are skeptical that it could be as good if it was that quick, and you know, people will describe it as dumbed down. I like to say it's streamlined because it's not really dumbed down. Some of it is simplified, but you still have meaningful decisions that you're making. There's still tactical risk that you have to put yourself out there. Sometimes you're like, somebody's got to stop this player from going for the win, and the other players can say, well, you do it. I'm going for the spice. And yeah, it can be a very tense game, but you know, you set it up, you play, you're done 45 minutes or an hour. The other thing that's interesting is a classic Dune. Many fans of that game will tell you that it is optimal at 6 players. And I am one of those people. I think that classic Dune at 6 players is the best player count, and it's fantastic. It's an amazing game at 6 players. It's a great game at 5 players. It's a really good game at 4 players. At 3 players, it's okay. And, you know, the original designers will say it is a great game at 3 players. And there were 3 of them, and that's how they designed it. But the hardcore Dune players will tell you 3 is not that great. If you've got 3 players, you should probably find another game to play. And 2 players, forget about it. What are you even thinking? Dune Conquest, on the other hand, is a great 2-player game. It's a great 3-player game, and it's a great 4-player game. And with 2 players, you can play any of the 4 factions, any 2 of those 4 factions. And it also comes with these double faction sheets. So this is a faction sheet that is both the Harkonnen and Imperium with the faction advantages combined. So it's a special version of a 2-player game that is included in the box. And we actually got some great feedback from the World Board Gaming Championship, which was run by Brad Johnson. Has been doing Dune tournaments there for many years, and this last year, this year, they did as well a Dune Conquest tournament, and from what Brad tells me, that after he was able to finally convince people to sign up to do it, because a lot of those grognards were very skeptical about, I don't know if Dune Conquest is going to be any good. It seems like it's dumbed down. And again, it's understandable that they would feel like that. This is not a game for hardcore gamers. This is for casual gamers. Well, we are hardcore gamers at Future Pastimes, so we wanted something that would appeal to casual gamers, but it needed to appeal to us as well because we are not casual gamers. And Brad said that once people started playing it, they really did start to see the value and the depth of the game. And what they really liked about it was that it was great for tournaments because you can get through those games quickly. And you can do all of your brackets and however you want to process your eliminations to get to a winner on there. So the strength of Dune Conquest is in its simplicity and in its speed, but it doesn't sacrifice a lot of depth. One of the other things that I think a lot of people love about classic Dune is the whole trader mechanism. So there's a card that matches each of the leader discs in the game. And at the beginning, you're dealt 4 of those, and you're going to choose one of these traders to be your trader, which you keep secret. And if you're ever in a battle with that faction and they reveal the trader matching the card that you hold, you can say, haha, well, that player, that leader is my trader. I automatically win this battle. I don't lose any of my forces. I don't lose any of my cards. And that was very easy to keep in Dune Conquest as well. It's a real simple, accessible concept that people really like. When you have a trader reveal, it's pretty amazing when it happens. It doesn't happen that often, which makes it even more amazing when it does happen. And so it has a lot of everything that people like about classic Dune. And, you know, we trimmed, I don't want to describe it as fat, but we trimmed a lot of the stuff down that lets you get to that stuff more quickly. I think Dune Conquest makes a great gateway to classic Dune. So if you know somebody who's never played classic Dune, they may be like, oh, it's too complex. And if they've heard the stories of like the game can go on for 6 hours, it doesn't always go on for 6 hours. But you can say, let's play Dune Conquest. You can get a taste of how it works. And then you can start to consider playing classic Dune, which in my opinion is the most thematic game that's ever been designed. Dune Conquest still has that theme. It's pretty rich. It's pretty great. But Dune, the classic version, has even more depth to it. Part of that is, you know, with the faction sheets, we've simplified them in a few ways. So you're going to have more faction advantages for each of the factions in classic Dune. In Dune Conquest, it's basically each one has about 2 advantages. The Harkonnen only have 1, and it's all about the traders, but we actually jazz that up. It's even more scary in Dune Conquest than it is in classic Dune, because in every battle they can just draw another trader card and get rid of one of the ones that was in their hand, including the one they just drew. So it lets them figure out which of their own leaders are safe, as well as cycle through the other leaders in the game. So it has a little bit of the Tleilaxu face dancer effect from the first expansion to the classic Dune game. So yeah, I really like this. You know, the question that we get asked a lot is there going to be an expansion to Dune Conquest? And what I can say is that Future Pastimes has a little bit of a reputation about expansions. So they're the original designers of Cosmic Encounter, and that first edition had 9 expansions, which, you know, in the 70s was a little bit unheard of. And Gale Force 9 also not afraid of expansions. If you look at how many expansions they've done for the Firefly board game, you know that they like to expand on a thing as well. So I cannot confirm or deny that there will be an expansion, but what I can tell you is that Future Pastimes likes to design expansions and is working on a design for it. We just don't know if it will get published, but there is a second movie coming out next year, so I think the odds are pretty good. And in terms of what we are interested in for an expansion to Dune Conquest, there are 2 elements. One is certainly more factions, and we're waiting along with everyone else to see just what the extent of new characters and whatnot are going to be in there. Will there be enough guild presence for some kind of guild faction? That remains to be seen. We're interested in that, but the other thing is we're interested in ways of making the base factions even more competitive. And some of that is, again, based on what Brad told us about the Dune tournament, was that everyone really enjoyed it. They liked it, but they had some feedback on some of the factions, and we're looking at the stats on which factions tend to win the most and why. And that's information that we can certainly apply to new effects that we might get in there. So if you're interested in being a playtester for Future Pastimes, we have a Discord channel. We do our playtesting in Tabletop Simulator. And we have an NDA, Future Pastimes NDA. So if you're willing to sign that, load up Tabletop Simulator and hang out in Discord with us, we're happy to playtest stuff out. There's no guarantee that anything that we playtest will get published, so want to be completely upfront with that, but we'd like to get feedback from people. We'd like to get a sense of the trends of things that people like and want to see in the board gaming. So we encourage a very large and healthy playtest community on this, Classic Dune, Cosmic Encounter, and the other games that that we continue to work on. So I hope that you will give Dune Conquest a try if you have not. We have a mod in Tabletop Simulator, and we are happy to just teach people how to play it, get them a chance to look at it, try it out. You can see how streamlined it is, but how it lets you get into that Dune action that people really like the most about the classic game. And you can see how quick and streamlined it is, but still has a lot of depth. There's still a lot of tactical decision-making. There's still some surprises. And everything that we added or changed was based on a thematic decision more than anything else. We were like, look, this is the stuff that's in the movie. How can we leverage that? That's thematics right there. So let me know if you have not tried, or what you thought of Dune Conquest, what your expectations were before you played it, and then what you thought of it after you've played it. What feedback do you have for us? What do you hope to see in an expansion? And anything else that you want to see in a video, I'm happy to do it. Thanks for watching, and we'll hope you'll see another video soon.